close my eyes, I see a strange reality. I woke up feeling, am I dreaming? Or on the edge of remembering? You wake up feeling like you really don't belong. You can't explain it, but when you close your eyes you see familiarity. Are you dreaming, or on the edge of remembering? Microphone seems to be working. I seem to be working. I think I'm working. I'm not sure. It's kind of dark in here. It's not that dark, but it's the way the sun is. We're having another lighting issue. So I'm going to actually move the lamp over here again. Just give me a second here. You know, a little time to trip over everything. It's a good thing I'm just a little person here. Usually first thing I do is hit myself in the head with this, and as I said that, ta-da. Let's see if this helps. Maybe. Oh. Phone on a string. Okay, there's the chat. I can see. There's my working hands. Oh, look at this. This looks like a piece of art. No, it's already been cut, so it's not a piece of art anymore. All right, guys. This is what I call a faux red velvet cake. Red velvet cake is essentially devil's food cake. Now, the natural alkaline reaction in the cake is what makes it reddish. And I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but even in the commercial cupcakes of devil's food that are not called red velvet, you will notice a reddish color versus ones that are used with non-alkalized, alkali treated cocoa. Doesn't matter. Taste-wise, it's great. The thing is, the reason I call this faux is that instead of relying on the natural chemical reaction that gives it the color, they put in a ton of red dye. And if you ever try a mix, I start with mixes and then I doctor them up so that they taste homemade. And basically that's the difference. You can get away with the cheap mix, but the cheap mix has all the basics you need to get started. You know, it's got the right amount of flour, sugar, salt, and baking soda, baking powder, whatever it is it needs. Then you have options: eggs, egg substitute; water, water substitute; oil, oil substitute. So I substitute. I use 3 big eggs, even if it calls for 2. Use butter melted instead of oil, and instead of plain water, I'll use milk, or I'll cut it half and half, like with heavy cream and water. So it's way richer than the mix would call for. But one thing that did not change in the fake red velvet, as soon as you put the fluids in, the red dye comes right up. It's like, it looked like some kid's confetti thing. So I was kind of shocked at that. I've never seen that in a cake mix before. So I was kind of wondering how this was going to turn out. And then on top of it, it was the thickest cake batter I ever personally worked with. You get used to a certain kind of a heaviness when you're beating up the dough or the batter. And usually you can pour it, even if it pours slowly out of your big bowl. This was not like that. This was like, I got to take out and clop it into where I want it. It was thick, like the acrylic paint I would love to do, sculptural acrylic paint. It just stayed in the position you put it in. It was amazing. So I had to, make sure it got into all of the pan, because I used my new pan with this beautiful pattern on it. Come here, let's show off the pattern. Well, you can't really see it as well now, but it really is a nice pattern. See, I saved myself a piece. So it came out great. It rose beautifully. Matter of fact, might have risen a little higher than the previous cake that I made, the spice cake. So I was very eager to try this. Matter of fact, I was a little concerned about bringing it down to strangers and people I'm getting to know and like, because it was like, oh my God, what if this sucks? It was so heavy and it took longer to bake. Still, I had to cut it up. So instead of just bringing it down, I took a piece out so I could taste it. And, sure enough, it is red as hell. If you close your eyes, it's just a double sweet cake, a chocolate cake. Not even like dark chocolate. I did add extra cocoa. It's good. It's because of all the cream and the real butter. It has a more dense texture, which actually I like, because you see it still makes plenty of crumb. But I discovered if you make this without butter, use oil instead, it about falls apart. It's so tender, it really just falls apart. So it's like, picking up the crumbs with my fork, that kind of thing. And you don't have to do that with this. So I think from now on, most of my baking anyway, I'm just going to go substitute the oil with butter. Came out much better. And what is a piece of cake without your tea and an eyelash? Make a wish. So today was mindfulness meditation day. And it was an interesting and hectic morning for me here. But I wanted to show this one person in particular who's 95 years old. I wanted to show her Toeblarina. So I didn't want to bring her down naked. So I put on her coat. And she laughed so much. Before I left, she said, "Let me see that again. I want to say it one more time." They were loving the eyelashes, and to see other people laugh is really good for me, because that's what I'm after, are the laughs. If I can make people laugh, especially someone who's got a lot to do, but is stuck doing it in slow motion with a walker. Yeah. So Toeblarina brought a bunch of laughs today. But it was funny that I was just going to grab the model, which is not usually dressed, right? We just use this to try stuff on. And that's why I usually don't have anything on it. But until I did this part, the eyes and eyelashes. But I felt like I can't bring Toeblarina out in public naked. So I was like, what can I put on her really fast? Because I was running out of time, because it was a really tight morning. And this popped up. It's like, oh, perfect. Doesn't need a hat. Just the little coat will work. So Toeblarina did her job today. Now I'm doing mine by eating some cake. And look at that. That's nice texture. I've got to get more of these pans. I think the next one will be an old favorite. I'm going to do a lemon cake with extra real lemon juice. And I'll make my lemon drizzle frosting. I like a tart lemon cake. I never liked the ones that are just too sweet. It's like, well, that's kind of lemon. You know it's lemon flavor, but it doesn't have any brightness to it. It's just like this flat, too much sugar lemon cake. Ew. So I grew up hating lemon cake for that. It was just like too much sugar, not enough real lemon. That's good tea. So I started making bundt cakes when I still had a very simple, ugly little bundt mold, but it was bundt pan, you know. I'd make the bundt, and after it cooled down, I would poke some holes in it, and then make my lemon frosting with just powdered sugar and a little milk. Oh, no, not milk, I'm sorry. That was just water. Or no. What did I do? Oh, lemon juice, of course, right? Then do it just plain lemon juice instead of water, and you can't use milk or it curdles. I use milk for like the chocolate ones. But anyway, after you have some holes poked in it, you pour it over, and some of it goes into the little holes, and then, you know, some of it just drizzles over. Really good, really good. Because now I can do better than a fork. I've got skewers. Get way down on there. Now I used to do that kind of thing with chocolate cake, but while it was still warm, I would make a rum sauce with real rum and pour that into the chocolate. That's decadent. Now, I do not generally do alcohol anymore, although I have been cooking with a little white wine. Oh, that's just beautiful. I'm surprised it rose so well. Hello. How are you today, Sally? A friend of mine just made a carrot cake. It looked fabulous, but I saw it before she made a frosting. She's a really good baker. I wish I could actually eat some of her stuff. In fact, she did an apple cake last year. Last year or way earlier this year. It looked so amazing and it sounded so good. It's like, I have got to make an apple cake. Now it came out pretty good. As soon as I was just talking about it. It's a red velvet cake, but it's a faux red velvet cake. Instead of using the alkali reaction in the cocoa to get its redness, like devil's food cake basically, it's full of red dye. I will not be using it again because of that. But I like starting with mixes because it does a bunch of the measuring and gets it out of the way. And especially now that my kitchen is like minuscule, I like it. So it's got a mix. Just basically has all your flour, your sugar, your salt, your leavening, and after that, I doctor the hell out of it. So butter instead of oil, 3 big eggs instead of 2. Everyone calls for 3. Sometimes I'll go up to 4. But most of the time it's taken care of on the other side. Instead of water, I use either heavy cream with water or some combination with a real dairy in it instead of just plain water, and melted butter instead of oil. Always comes out so much better. And if I served this to you, you would not guess it was a cake mix to start with, other than the exceptionally red color. Now I added some extra cocoa. That was another thing I added to this, because I can't leave well enough alone. I really love chocolate. No, you're correct when it comes to paints. There are pigments that are done with cochineal bugs. That's also where we got our red dye. And a different one, we get our purple dye. But nowadays, we don't have to do that as much. Especially when it comes to the food stuff, they just use basically laboratory dyes. And I don't even know why, because something like this, I don't know why they don't just use beet color. It's not like the beet flavoring is going to be so strong it would overtake chocolate. You know, if you look up the history of fabric dyes, textiles, that's where you'll see all the what was used for what. One of the big studies that they have done, like what colors might Jesus have been wearing, because he's depicted with this and that, and they're saying, well, back then he's not likely to have had anything with color on it, at least not, you know, to begin with. Because they didn't do that back then. It was you had money if you had used dye. You had natural colors, natural fibers, cheap, coarse cloth. And when I say cheap, I'm not saying it'd be what we would consider cheap. But weaving stuff back then, making threads, all that. But anyway, I read an interesting article about the red and the purple dyes that were used back in the days of Jesus, and where they came from, and how they know where dyes were imported from. It's like they could trace the trade routes by the colors where they were able to get to, like indigo. Very big deal to have something with indigo. Exie, hi. Welcome. How are you today? I am enjoying this piece of cake. I shared the rest of it, but I did save 2 slices for me, which actually is just 1 normal slice. And I have my tea here. I thought I would start with a relaxing few minutes because it's been a non-stop morning for me here. I have been busy since the time I got up. And as usual, unfortunately, I didn't even get 6 hours sleep. Okay, we are going to save this because I don't really eat that much cake, believe it or not. I get cravings for it. I bake a cake, and then I give the cake away, which is what I did with these, but I did save myself a nice slice. I'm okay, just a little tired. But I'm still walking into things. So, Sally, we did this yesterday. My first giant bag snowflake. And we're going to be doing some of these when I catch up with a couple other things. It's nice that it weighs like nothing. This is 7 lunch bags. And I'm going to make the next one with 8. Although I like the odd number here. I want to try with 8 because of the, these are a little tight of a stretch, and I think maybe a little more accordion stuff would work better. So we're going to try that. Yes, cheap. Less than $2 for 50 of them. So I thought, oh, I will decorate the community room for all these people here. The apartment building has a community room, so I'm going to give them to the senior resident advisor. She's here for senior residents, and she will put them up, so I won't have to worry about that. But I did scout out the room, and I could take my stepladder down there, and that would be high enough to get to the ceiling. But I am not good with this, and my balance is bad, so it's not really advisable that I be bent back and putting things up that way. So I'm just going to let the young lady take care of that. But I'm going to produce a whole bunch of these on the show. Now here is, I started working on a purple dress for Toeblarina last night. And then I started feeling the frustration of crocheting. Even with my new glasses, I need different glasses with a different close-up prescription. So I'm a little clumsy, and it's been a little frustrating. But what we're doing, sweetie, this is what we're working on. It's Thanksgiving/Christmas. The annual gingerbread rock houses. Every year I do some of these. I couldn't finish them last year because of where I was living. And basically I ended up doing a bunch of things I don't normally do because I was stuck with just being in one room with only this for lighting and being very frustrated with my art. But I did do a lot of doodles. That's when we came out with the cockadoodles, which unfortunately didn't copy well enough for me to set out there to show people or turn into greetings cards and a calendar, as was the plan. And I'm telling you, although I love the way they came out, I'm just, right now, I'm not into reproducing all those penises, as funny as they are. But we have Toeblarina. I brought Toeblarina down to the group meditation this morning. And you want to see a 95-year-old lady in a walker crack up. She thought this was so funny that before we left and called the end of the meeting, she had to see it one more time because she just can't get over how funny the eyelashes are. So it was a good morning. So these are from a couple of years ago. And wait, what year? These are from 2018. And this is one of my favorites. This is from 2019. This is from my own collection. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to remember how I did it. But the material I'm working with this year, it's not what I did with this. I can't find that material anymore. So I had to go with Elmer's wood filler instead of this other wood filler by the same company, but one that's indoor-outdoor and had wood in it. This doesn't have wood in it. It's more like a plastic. And I am working with it, but it's not giving me the results I want. So this is the fancy one for this year, and this is a special gift from one of our regular supporters here. And she doesn't know it's for her yet, but yeah, I can't wait to get her reaction when she gets it. So we're working on that. Got a built-in Christmas tree and a big glass window, a wreath, and we'll continue turning into gingerbread houses. So this is actually not a gingerbread house. It was supposed to be. This is a Nomarian house from my planet Nomaris. But Nomarians love all kinds of whatever they can recreate in colors. So they're not color snobs. Some houses have a lot of bright colors. Some of them are more subdued and more fitting in with nature. It just depends on the builders at the time. That's the nice thing about Nomaris. They're very earth-based. When I say earth, I mean like the earth and things. So they are very big into using their pottery and everything with clay. Clay. And their roads are mosaic. They do a lot of mosaic. So instead of wasting broken tile for that, they just reapply it to something else. So yeah, they can get colorful. But because I cannot sit here and make every Nomarian house tiny mosaics, I do more stuff like give them some stained glass windows, because give them gardens, give them some different colors, and that kind of thing. The house, the roof is not going to be one solid color. The rooftops will end up being more like the natural stuff that grows in the woods. This is also one from my own collection. Not a gingerbread. So we have 4 gingerbreads that are going to be completed and sent out into the world. This one as well, but that's a special one. And these 2 I might part with my collection. These have been in my own personal collection, and I might be I've got a couple others in my collection. I might start reducing my collection because I'm now in a 1-bedroom apartment and I only have so many shelves. Need my shelves for my supplies, and excuse me, I'm running out of places to put tchotchkes. And I'm not into doing the Christmas ornamentation too much because, number one, I don't celebrate Christmas, but I also like separation of holidays. I celebrate Christmas in as much as I celebrate all light. So I love Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and Christmas for the light that these holidays are representing. And that matters to me. The religious stuff, don't give a shit. Because Kwanzaa is not religious. It's not a religious holiday. So, and Kwanzaa can be for everybody. You don't have to have any religion to be to celebrate Kwanzaa. Now, in our building, apparently there's a rule that you cannot put up Christmas decorations until November 15th. And I'm like, you couldn't make it Thanksgiving. Like, wait until we get through Thanksgiving. There's a whole holiday, a month between these things. Let's have a little space. Seder, hello. You missed me eating a piece of cake. It wasn't interesting. It's just me sitting here eating a piece of cake. It was good, though. And I have 1 piece left. I think I am addicted to pans more than I am cake. I'm already planning the next cake. But I need to get just your plain old stupid muffin pan. nothing fancy, something that can hold 12 cupcakes. I got, that's one thing I like about the dollar store. They have seasonal cupcake holders that are cute. And I didn't usually care, but now that I live in a place where there's lots of people, cupcakes are a very practical giveaway thing. So I thought, I'll get them. And for $1, you get a bunch of these cups that are cute. And then I could not find a damn pan. I couldn't believe it. At Walmart, I found an awesome bun pan, but I couldn't find your typical plain old muffin pan. They're out of everything. Oh, yes, I know. If I commissioned a painted stone, I would order a tower block like Trump Tower. You wouldn't want me to make Trump. I could not sit here and write the word Trump. Sorry. But if you wanted me to make a rock that looks like an apartment building, I had never thought of that. What I do with these, because rocks are a weird art. They take a while to make. They take a while because I work on it in stages so that each stage can dry thoroughly. So sometimes I only make a few little brush strokes and I let it sit for an hour or sometimes until the next day. So what I do is I create the rocks. If you have ideas or you want something, you let me know. And I will try to do something that works for you and for me. And if when it's done, you decide you want it, then you're free to make an offer. If you don't like it, you're not obligated because I did it because I wanted to do it. You see? No pressure to buy because art is like that, I have done commissions, don't get me wrong. There are things where I have to put so many hours into something. There's no friggin' way I'm going to do it unless I'm paid for it. And those were eggs. Building things inside of eggs. Chicken eggs. Little chicken eggs. I used to build really tiny scenes and I couldn't even buy things small enough to put in chicken eggs. So I had to make everything that went into the chicken egg. For example, a palm tree that I made through painting some paper and rolling the paint up to make a tree and then make leaves that I had to cut out to make the palms. I used pot seeds, which back then you could get pot seeds. I used pot seeds for coconuts. That's how small everything was. Oh, yeah. Yeah. How high a building? How big a rock? Well, first you got to remember, shipping things goes by the pound. As soon as you hit 1 ounce over that pound, you go to the next pound price. And right now, we're looking at about $17 US to send 1 pound across the country. I do not know what it would take right now because our rates have gone up so high for shipping. And I know that because I just sent out 3 packages and all 3 of them blew my mind. So, I mean, I would have sent them no matter what they cost. But the point is, I was not anticipating quite the amount that they cost. So that's something to consider, how big of a stone you want. For example, I have a monolith over here. This monolith I would never ship anywhere. I can barely pick it up. It's so heavy. It's so heavy, you look at it and you go, this can't be that heavy. It is that heavy. It's like, what is this, a freaking meteor? And I appreciate that, Sally, because if I had to write that word voluntarily and put it in paint and try to make it pretty, I might be sick. I can't pick this up, so I'm going to show you. I hope I'm going to show you. We're going to try and show you my monolith. Now, people who were fans of the old show are familiar with it because I used to keep it next to my bed. Oh, sorry, Spidey. I had to move a spider. Okay, let's move. Oh, try not to move that. Hi. Can you see that. Can you see that? Can you see that? I'm in the way. Try to get out of the way. There it is. Right there, that tall thing right here. This thing, this is what it looked like when I rescued it from the side of the road, where it was just standing there like some kind of a post. And these angles, I don't know if you can see them on the camera, the way things flatten out. Oops, sorry there. I took somebody's little web. All of these were natural. This is just the way the rock was. And this top of it, everything here is exactly the way it was when I found it. Except I covered it with mica, which I dug up in a mica mine. This thing, I thought, hey, what a weapon. Actually, I thought, what a signpost, because no one is going to steal that, because who can pick it up? But after all that work, I decided, no, nobody can have that except me. So what I'll do is, although I do not get out that often anymore, I know right now I do not have, wait a second. You see, I have over here a whole bunch of rocks I have not finished. Let me show you my tallest rocks. These are my unfinished rocks. They're not gingerbread rocks, which is why they're not here on the table. Very tall. Yeah, see, that would cost a bloody fortune. My weight in gold. That's what that would cost to ship you. I'm usually just working in miniatures. These are the tallest, literally, these are the tallest two rocks. Well, that's not really tall, but this is one that I was getting hyper creative with. This is more than, it's a Nomarian house. It's carved out of a, well, it's carved into a mountain, basically. And it's a dragon's house. Dragons like unusual shapes. And that's also because they don't need stairs if they don't want, because if they want, they can just fly up. The window up here. This is where I left off with this. This is going to be stairs, actually, but I ran out of stuff, and that's how that happens. And this was going to be another very large dragon house. Thank you. I know, it is a cool shape. I do, when I find a cool rock, I grab it. And I liked the way this was pointed, but it didn't sit flat without tipping, so I created the bottom. And that's the first thing I do with the wood fillers, is you have to create a flat bottom, because otherwise, what are you doing? Everything just keeps tipping over, and et cetera, et cetera. So priority, and luckily this is like the easiest part of it, leveling out the bottom. And once it's good and straight, it stands where you want, then you can start sculpting onto the rock. I try to hold on to as much of the natural shape as possible, otherwise why start with a rock? I could use anything for an armature. But basically that's what my rocks are. They're armatures for the imagination. And then I never know what I'm going to end up doing with them. Good morning, Oinkness. And Sally, this is called the penthouse. I love this place. I totally love this place. It has plenty of flaws, okay? I just got the thermostat fixed. It took 6 or 7 attempts to get that done, because this building is 41 years old. Now, if you're in the UK, that's a very young building. In America, they're ready to tear it down, you know what I mean? But this one's not getting ready to be torn down. But it wasn't made to last 100 years, although I think that some of it was. We've got an unusual heating system. I've never seen it anywhere in America, but here it works. And I'm being in the penthouse, mine was the hardest to fix because of water pressure getting to the furthest and uppermost apartment in the place. But I get all the light. I get all the heat. I love that I can look out and see the tops of trees. Now, in winter, I do see other stuff, you know, like it's an apartment building, so without the trees, I see people's cars being parked, that kind of thing. But that's okay. If just sitting down, you know, there's really, aside from one complex as part of this, that's townhouses, it's like I don't have to look at anybody, and I like that. And yesterday, we had over 100 crows, 3 trees full of crows for the second day in a row, but they're not here today. So I guess they were like amassing for migration. Although they don't always migrate. Now, last winter, I just had a few crows, a couple of small families, that was it. And only one family of 3 that used to come on a regular basis. I never saw a gathering like this. So it's like, yeah, you're getting ready to do something. This is more than one flock. Definitely. Like a grand meeting. I wonder what they talked about. I swear some of them recognized me as the lady who gives them peanuts, because they kept dive bombing my window like they were trying to look in. It's like, it's me, it's me. I know, it's silly. They do know people, though. They get used to people. They get used to all that stuff, and it's amazing what crows can remember. Was it you that mentioned that they'll start bringing you gifts in return for what you do for them? It's true. I need my garbage. The first time that happened, I didn't think it was a crow. I thought it was a squirrel saying, thank you for all of the nuts. A murder of crows, exactly. Well, I would have to say there were 3 murders of crows. There were enough that if they really wanted to murder somebody, they could have. Isn't it funny where we come up with the names for groups? All right, I need, now that I'm all seated down, I need, okay, we have the Wyatt, we have the oops, wrong red. I am a bull in the china shop with these glasses on. I am knocking over everything over here. Stand up. Gosh. Okay. Yellow. I need the yellow. We have to put some warmth into these windows. Come here. Pale yellow. Oh, we got that yellow too. Nice. So, if you weren't here when I found out, my Aunt Rosie is alive and well, and she's in her new assisted living facility, loving it. She is loving it. She's 90 years old, and if she can just get some of her health back, they can figure out what's wrong with her kidneys in time. God only knows how much more time she can get here on this planet. She's got the spirit, you know? Now, when I say my aunt, These are rocks I would not paint, and some that have been painted. Yes. I also have large eggs. Ostrich. Sitting in a bowl of rocks. Yeah, I'm a semi-precious, when I can afford it, precious, and rock and mineral collector. Hello, Charlie. The most 2022 girl teenager show ever. That's not something I would normally look for. What's it called? Because there's always a hot guy in it and he's always shirtless. Ah, ha, 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 ha. I've been noticing some commercials lately. That must be men's underwear because that's all they're wearing. I actually like that commercial. Oh, that's good. I like that there's a hot guy in it and he's always shirtless. I can remember sex. I remember. I'm gripped. 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 Gripped by a narrative, gripped by the look, or is gripped a new slang? There's a new slang meaning for it that I'm not aware of. Aloha, Doc. I know, right? And you shouldn't complain. You had it more recently than me. The thing is, I'm not looking. I've reached a point of the thought comes into my mind and my body says, we're going to bed, to sleep. You can stay up late and think all you want, but I'm going to sleep. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Nice. Good to have something to watch. Me, I'm waiting for season 2 of Is It Cake? Having to live among... Oh, I'm not worried about that, honey. If I want it, it's there. I just haven't been wanting it. My body is exhausted. My nerve endings are like frozen. Oh, that's so true, Charlie. Yeah, you know, I saw a good TED Talk today about being single. And it reminded us of a narrative people don't usually put into the storytelling of sometimes we like to be single and we're happier single and we just want to be single and there's nothing wrong with fucking being single. In fact, a lot of people who want to get married want a husband or a wife. That's a way a lot of the time. It's like, what does that say? You want to be single, mostly single. It's like, yeah, I'll get married, but I like them best when they're at work. I think the reason my husband and I got along so well for so long was because he went to work. He was gone 50 hours a week, during which time I was extremely busy. And I didn't mind. I did not miss him during the day. I had him on the weekends. It was enough. And I had him after work, which was plenty. It's like, oh, well, I guess the real reason is I like to be alone. I like doing my own thing. Will you watch Dead to Me season? I never saw the first season. Yeah, I don't believe in sinking to other people's levels. I did that when I was your age. I dumbed down my vocabulary so people could understand me. Because all I wanted at your age was to be, I can't believe I'm saying it, mediocre. I wanted to be average. I strived to be average because I was sick of people thinking I was a genius. And believe me, I did not take the best route in doing that. You'll be binge watching it. Oh, okay. No, we're not geniuses. We can be tested, but they can only test along, so many meridians. There's all kinds of intelligence. There are people who are, well, like Sheldon Cooper, for real. They're geniuses with science. They're geniuses with concepts that other people can't grasp. But they're completely clueless when it comes to emotional intelligence. They can't tell anything. They're idiots. And you wonder, how can you be so smart and still blunder through the most basic human interactions as if you were just born yesterday? Because people are like that. So Dead to Me, can you explain a little bit about what that is about? I mean, it must be okay if it's gotten to season 3. Like I said, I'm waiting for season 2 of Is It Cake? That's the most feel-good show I've seen in years. No drama of a negative kind. People getting along and cheering each other on even when they're competing. It's like, yeah, I like the energy of this. Reasonable prizes that are mind-blowing at the same time. They're not like the end of the world if you lose. The number of people who are totally emotionally tactless is honestly a little frightening. Yeah. Oh, boy, that's true. That is true. I'm sometimes clueless. I try not to be tactless. If I'm tactless at this age, if I'm tactless, it's usually intentional. But not if it's mean. If it sounds mean, it's probably not intentional. I hope I love this show because there's like 10 seasons. Oh my God. Yeah, that'll hold on to you. You'll hold on to it. Why is what a bad thing? Which, the show or people who are emotionally tactless? A hidden death and a hidden friend secret. So it sounds like a mystery. Oh, but a few seasons worth of hell. I see the show I'm waiting for is very much more simple. It's just cakes that are created to look like other things, to fool judges into, is it cake or is it really a sewing machine? I don't know why. I just love the shit out of that show. I watched it the one season. I've watched the whole season 3 times. Okay, Charlie. Oh, good. Comedy, drama, and mystery. Well, as long as there's some comedy in there. Yeah, Dead to Me sounds like a comedy. Like, you're dead to me. Oi. Or, looks dead to me. I would think so. I would think so. Death and all that, you know. One of my new friends is grappling with death right now. Fending off his own. His health is improving this year. But he lost his mother and a brother this year. And is braced to lose an aunt, his mother's sister. So he's like really just trying to hold it together. So Thursday is meditation day, and it's also Thanksgiving. And he is not celebrating Thanksgiving. He wants nothing to do with Thanksgiving food, nothing that makes him feel more miserable and detached, you know, missing his family. So I told him I'll come down and do a meditation for him, even if nobody else wants it. I'd never heard of it. Is that I don't get TV. Anything I watch has to come off the internet. I have Amazon Prime, and at least for the moment, I've got Netflix. Netflix is alone, so I don't know how long I'll have that. Oh, that is such good tea. Irish breakfast. Is what channel is that on, or is it a station thing? If it's how to do things, I always like that. That's how I found out how to do the snowflakes this week. I said, gotta do it. Got to do it. I was thinking, what can I do for everybody downstairs? I thought, hey, why don't you make some decorations? And then I came across the snowflakes made out of paper bags. It's like, I can afford that. A hobby I can afford. A craft I can afford. Watching both seasons. Oh, okay. I know. I go with that. Netflix. Okay. Netflix has hacks. Thanks, Link. I will try to remember that. Now, my wonderful company will be here Monday night. And we're going to be going out a few times in his 2 weeks here. But most of the time, we're staying mellow. We're going to watch movies and catch up on stuff like that. We're going to be doing Toeblarina stuff. He's going to help me with my photographs so I can finally get my calendar done and all that. You may welcome me back. Welcome. Am I supposed to ask where you were? Oh, that's where Dead to Me is. Okay. Oh, no kidding, Doc. Oh, what do you know? You know, that sounds familiar now. Like I might have known that at some time, at some point. Well, Red Fox was, he was a dirty man. First time I ever heard of Red Fox, I was 11 years old, and it was on a blue record because my stepfather was a pig. And he had all kinds of weird shit, and he had long playing albums. And back then, when they did blue records, they were in unmarked containers, basically. So it was a white album, and the label said Red Fox, and he was doing stand up. And it was recorded, and it was naughty as hell, or blue, as we used to say. Steptoe and Son. That sounds. Stop calling me sir, I'm going to slap you upside the head. Yeah, so where is Hacks? What is that on? Yep, Steptoe. I remember hearing that. I do. You don't forget Steptoe overnight. So first I ever heard of Red Fox was on one of those naughty records, and when nobody was home, I put it on my Victrola to find out why is this hidden? Why is this record hidden with a couple of other things and Playboy joke books? And luckily nobody heard it. And I have to say, at 11 years old, I did not understand most of it. But then, when I did understand something, I sat there and turned red and took it off the Victrola and put it back. He was naughty. Naughty man. But that's how they did comedy back then, when it was X-rated. They called them blue records. And they got passed around pretty much the same way pornography did. And sometimes with pornography. When he was on TV, I was like, Red Fox, Red Fox. Oh my God, that Red Fox? He's on TV? I didn't even know what he looked like until then. Now, because he did get recorded, I don't know what has survived, Doc. There might be some archives where people have some of those old recordings. Be worth a fortune now if I had one. Yeah, Lenny Bruce was definitely a groundbreaker and a rule breaker. Now, that TV show that is or was on Netflix, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, whatever the hell it was. I think I saw the first season. I'm not sure. Yeah, I did, because Lenny Bruce got in there, and it was like shortly after that. I just haven't had time. So I don't always see everything to the end unless it's really freaking funny. But when I started seeing things like divorce, And then I see how women were suppressed everywhere, and then seeing him in the comedy club and all that. It's like, I need a break. I know women have been abused historically. We need to change the narrative. I loved Andy Kaufman. It was so sad, you know, how he ended up also being. But yes, I loved him. But I mostly really, although I love some of his comedy stuff, some of it was just a little over the top for me, and just I just didn't think it was that funny. I loved his Mighty Mouse thing because when I was a little kid, I wanted to marry Mighty Mouse, the cartoon. So here I am to save the day. So yeah, I loved Mighty Mouse. When he did that bit, I thought it was great. But I loved him best as Latka on Taxi. How about you? Did he? I did not know that, but that's very funny. So that's why he's a Lone Ranger. Yeah, Lenny was censored left and right. Well, back in that day, Toeblarina would have been censored too. So some things we have to really take with a grain of salt. I mean, if you're our age, you know, you remember how things were when we were kids. And then how much it's changed. We're not the same. Those things aren't the same. Oh, that's all pretty even brown. All right, we need to do a little bit, step up the white for the snow. Hey, get back there. No, I don't want naphthalk. Okay. You loved Mighty Mouse too? Oh my God. I thought he was the greatest. I didn't realize that Mighty Mouse was seen in the UK. But that's oh, you too. Oh, in the playground. Yeah, oh my God. Okay, so what are you? You're in your 60s? Can I link the gay Lone Ranger here? Yes, you can. I can't click on it because I'll lose my place. It was hard enough to find my own show. But yeah, go ahead. You're a mod. You can do that. That's your power. Yeah, I thought Mighty Mouse was perfect husband. Also, he worked a lot of hours, and I wasn't going to see him very often. Yeah, I'll marry a superhero. He's busy most of the time. I like that. Leaving me to have my fun. Do my thing. Here I am to save the day. When I saw Andy Kaufman do that, I had not thought about Mighty Mouse in years. And I brought it all back. It's like, oh my God, I used to be in love with Mighty Mouse. That's how little I used to be. Adamant! Oh, yes. Yes, yes. Another wonderful hero. The smallest and the mighty, right? Okay, so if anybody wants to check out that YouTube video, go ahead. And Oinkness, where are you? Are you on the coast? No, it's not the coast time yet. How are you feeling? Batfink. Batfink. Don't know Batfink. I don't think. There was a cat. not Felix. Gosh. Who was it? He was like a hip cat. Did you grow up in the States and then go to the UK? Or maybe just back in those days there was only so much programming for children. Do you remember Super Chicken and his lion friend, whose name I can't remember? Barack will be here. Oh, okay. All right. It is happening today. How are you feeling? Oh, no. Oh, shit. What happened last night? I could not go to sleep. And I took my half of a gummy. I'm afraid tonight I'm going to have to step it up to a full gummy. I apparently have become resistant after 3 or 4 nights on half a gummy. But that's better than I got. Because usually, like I said, when I have something like that, I need 2 or 3 or 4. I'm such a hard head with that stuff. But this time it was really helping. Well, a combination of everything, you know, all my meds together. It was really perfect. It's like, yeah, look at that. I fell asleep nice, went out, slept okay. And then last night was not good. Night before, 23 times I was restless. Oh, that's so cool. Your bullets cannot harm me. My wings are like a shield of steel. Ah, that's great. No, I didn't. No bat think. I'm sad. I loved bats. What are you going, oh my, from the video or because of what Sally just said? If you wonder what I'm doing, I'm looking at my phone so I can see what you're typing because I can't read across there. Let's make more snow. The snow over here is thin and weak. Oh, I don't have to do that yet. I have to do the background. That's why I didn't do it yet. We can wait on that. But we have here a little snowman. So we want to make sure the snow looks good, even though it's at the bottom. Okay, just sit there for a minute. Oh, that's funny. So we're about the same age. Packed and ready to go. That's all you have to do. That is so cool that you're able to do that at all. To get out there, go to a coast, hang out in a condo or a hotel, and you can watch the water without feeling obligated to get in it. I love looking at the water. Matter of fact, today it was a water meditation using the harmony chime, having people go out energy-wise with a pond, had them plant a seed for the future. Look like a golden bean. Can't have chocolate on our frosting here. Or gingerbread, rather. Not chocolate, gingerbread. Oh my god! Oh no. Is there any way to secure it more than you've already got it? I can't pull up things out of the... Like, I can't pull up a fence or anything, can it? You don't want it to become airborne. That's scary, because when I was doing shows with the canopy, even though the canopy fabric itself let air through, yeah, we had to end up getting 25-pound weights for each corner because the wind was really severe out in Bakersfield. And yeah, when the storms hit there, that was scary. You'd see other people lose their tents and see them go rolling across the field of mud. People running after it. It's like, oh my God, they're gonna get hurt. You would think in a place that's known for having inclement weather at that time of year, that would be they would reschedule the annual art show, right? It's like, oh, it's always a mess out here. It's always muddy, blah, 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 blah. It's always this, it's always that. Then do something if it's that predictable. Yours is not. Oh. Oh. See, I love the wind, but I did not like it when I had to work outside. Because also, I don't weigh anything. And literally, your average umbrella will lift me off my feet until it turns inside out. Excuse me. You know what would be handy for a canopy like that? Closable wind flaps. So when the wind is severe, you can open them up so the air can go through it rather than catch underneath it and lift. Chicken curry, yummy. Sally, have a wonderful week. You called me Aid, then you have to know me. Nobody calls me Aunt unless they've known me for years. Enjoy, Sally. Yo, Charlie. What? I have a chicken thigh defrosting for my dinner. I've known you for years. Well, I guess technically that's true now, isn't it? You've known me for 2 years. Doc has known me for how many years, Doc? You and Oink, did you discover me? Well, I know Oink discovered me at Celestial Tea Room, but I thought you knew me at Intuitube. I have to get some clean water. Am I mistaken? Why is everything tighter? I moved something. See, what happens when your studio is on wheels, things can get moved and you realize, how do I move that? Oh, I leaned against it. Oinkiness, what color is the canopy? From Blog TV. Okay, so you've known me for 14 years, Doc. And then Oinkiness found me 3.5 years after that, 4 years after that, something like that. So I've known Oinkiness for a decade, 10 years. White? Okay. Take a break. I am going to be right back. I have some candles to light. Let's see some protection around your canopy or canopy. Okay. Let's see that protection. I'll have to have the wind died down. But if anything should happen, I see one of the ends of it, one corner might pop. But it won't destroy the whole canopy if that happens. So I think you're safe. I'm not feeling any disasters. But in the future, just because of the insecurity of the way they are, they should have these little windbreaks in them so that when you have a really bad day, you can let the pressure out. Because that's what takes it aloft, right? If all that wind come out up underneath it, it's airtight. Other than that, I do like canopies. For years and years, I wanted this octagonal screen room for my backyard on the farm. I wanted a place I could do readings from, but the sun was so harsh in the south. It was interesting seeing everybody's coping mechanisms, like down there. I mean, living there. It's like, how can these people breathe? This is just the most miserable existence ever. But it was an interesting phenomenon. It seemed like so many women down south got white hair young. Now, that could have been a hereditary thing and just everybody was related. It could be something else. Maybe it was all the freaking heat. It was just a strange thing to see so many women with white hair. But another aspect I noticed, moistness. I never saw so many people with damp-looking faces. It's like, oh, look at them. They all have this shininess to them. It's like, because they are sweating all the time. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah, the weight on it. There is just so much, right? So much. Every time you turn around, there is one more thing that's got to be taken care of. Repaired, fixed, replaced. Oh, repaired and fixed. Same thing. Duh. But you know what I mean? Like the list goes on and on and on. That's why they said when you're young, it pays to be a homeowner, because you start developing equity in your, as it goes, its worth goes up. And then when it's time to sell or whatever, it's worth more, or you can take the equity out of it if you need an equity loan. So, I mean, there's definite value to owning a house. Then you get to my age, and it turns around the other way. Then it's a liability. Now you got this thing you got to take care of when you're slowing down and your income tends to slow down with you. Now, that's not going to be the case with everything we do. But as we get older, let's face it, there are certain things we don't want to do anymore or we can't do anymore. I loved having a house. I just felt this whole table vibrate before that made the sound. My nephew telling me he will not be able to make it to pick me up. Enjoy the trip. Aunt D told me a couple days ago. Can it away for the holiday. Kiss off. Goodbye. And he just told his Aunt Dee, who told me a couple days ago, because he told his cousin, but he didn't tell the rest of us. And I was waiting for him to pick me up to bring me to the shower. Thanks for letting me know the day before you're leaving. Young people. Oh, that's too uneven. I need more of this brown back. Okay. Making tiny, tiny lines. I can't do that. I can't do that. They're trying to get me to have they're making plans to pick me up and bring me here and there, and I can't do it. Sorry. Damn it. They're trying to find a way, which I love, to pick me up so I can participate in this family event. And I do appreciate that because I do love them. If he's leaving in the morning, then that's Friday. Well, hold on. But I'm on camera. But I am live on YouTube. ATM. Back later. XOXO. Now let me see what you said, because I couldn't see what you were saying at the same time. There. Young people, I do say. Older than you, Carlos, by 10 years. So as you might imagine, I find less excuse in that than I would if it was you. It doesn't matter. We can't always do what we want. And this is a party, not a life-threatening event. It's not surgery that I'm getting lined up for. We're just going to have to make different arrangements. I want to see my niece. I'm already scheduled to have a weekend with my sister. I'll miss the party, but I don't see why we can't make some time in that weekend to get together. Right? Do lunch at like 12 later since I've got to get around. I leave on Sunday. Oh, okay. Lunch. Okay, I gotta say, let's talk later. I can't talk right now. I can't think. I can't look at my calendar. Okay. All right. We'll give you emoji, a kiss. All right, guys, I love you. Now, please bugger off while I do my work. Because, yeah. Hello. Phone. YouTube, come back. There we are. Hi, Exie. Did I miss anything? Another, I wish I'd love to see, but I can't make lunch because I have to pick up the cake. See? I don't want my sister getting any more stressed out than she already is, which is why I'm trying to get everybody to not pick me up. I know that if we really push, my sister would come and pick me up, but she would have to drive over an hour to get me. And then she's putting the party on. She's taking care of the whole shower. I cannot put her through that. She's working full time, being taken advantage of because she's a woman. She doesn't need agita just for a party. But I don't want her to feel bad because part of her pleasure is in getting the family together, you know. And not much family is left up in this area, so I know why she wants me. We don't get to see each other. But we're scheduled for having a whole weekend together in early December. So I'm already thinking, all right, how about during our weekend together, we get together with your daughter and son-in-law. We'll go see them, wish them good luck for the baby and all, and I can deliver my gift. It turns out they like vintage ornaments, but the vintage are things I made. So I've got a bunch of things I want to give them for their tree. First tree, you understand what it means to be live on YouTube. Okay. When do you get back? More goes to Scotland. 2 weeks. They'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll talk to you all later. I love you very much. Now, everybody shut up. You know what I mean. Okay. Okay, let's get the dizziness under control here. Now these metal frames keep grabbing my hair and pulling it out. Interesting. Okay. Okay, eyes on board. Oh, there we go. All right, let's get this here. We need to cover up these two mortar lines because they're not even. When that dries, I'll put them back in there properly. Now next month I'll be able to order the other new glasses to go with my new lenses in the eye. And I'll be able to see close up again, I think. That's what we're trying to do. So I can see close up and also not too far away. Because my new glasses are good for driving. They see way across there, but they don't see up here where the camera is, where my screen is, and a little headache inducing kind of thing. I've also noticed it's made doing these windows way worse. Oh, yeah, I don't want to need the light. I need to make those little lines in there first. This is a liner. It's a shot liner, meaning it's not going to give me the fine line it was made to do for very long, but it'll work for this purpose today. Just have to be very careful not to overload the brush or press down very hard. Also, brushes, especially cheap brushes, develop a curl on the end with use. So when you are pulling your stroke, you have to make sure that that little curl is not working against you. Otherwise, you get these little blips and a shortened stroke. Okay. Oh, that's where are my hairs? Silver threads and golden needles. That was an old song I used to sing. But I did not do the lead on that. That was one of those I did the harmony on because my partner wasn't getting enough to sing. Going cross-eyed here. Now it's funny, and you can forget entire years and years of your own life. The older you get, and strangely easier it gets to do that. But it's very much a matter of what's reminding you about things every day. What do you have around? What's going on that makes you think about something in the past, right? And I realized after I got here, back in New England, that it was New England itself that was triggering the memories because I was here 40 years ago. So now that I'm here, I'm thinking about things from 40 years ago that I did not even think about all these years because I lived in California, Rhode Island, North Carolina, California twice. So it's kind of like after you do all that moving around, while you're gone, you're in a different world, you're dealing with different things, and there's no triggers of environment, so you forget. If you're not doing the same thing, like I stopped doing music after I got married, and I got back into it, but a little differently because California is California. But also at that point I was married and I had a husband who was jealous and didn't think I should be playing in front of people. So many songs from around the world. I've collected so much. Well, that's awesome that you have. That stuff that you have is what reminds you about the past. So if you collect a song from 20 years ago, when you hear it, it's going to bring you back to 20 years ago when you first found that song or first heard it, whatever made you save it. All that stuff becomes a more and more complicated memory. And as we know, memory does not preserve itself correctly. So you have memories that are kind of shredded at the edges and get more and more so as you remember and then remember the remembering. So every time you remember something, it gets a little different from the original memory, which is why we cannot put so much stock into our memory. It takes actual effort to commit something to memory in a way that you're going to remember it more accurately later. It's called being here now. The more you focus on the current reality, you're making things more solid in your brain. Instead of it just being a transparency, so to speak, of an unimportant thing, you're making it more important. Like, here is a stick of glue. It's a newer label than I remember from when I was selling this shit back in '86. It's also a little bit bigger, if I remember correctly. I guess people realize that, if you buy these, you probably need a bunch of them, because other companies used to get like wax sticks, so they never dried, and you can remove things, movable stuff. And we used to sell those by the box or by the handful. And you remember certain things because of, like, this made me remember the wax sticks, which were way more popular than glue sticks back in the 80s. Now, if I want to really remember this, and I do this intentionally with lots of things because I don't count on my memory just popping things up other than, well, actually, I count on them popping things up appropriately. I know that the next time I need a glue stick, I will know right away when I take a look at this image in real life in the future, it'll have with it all of the memories I put into this today, that it was good for this, it acted like that, it was very soft and pliable, excuse me, it didn't glue so, harden so fast that I couldn't move my work. It's acid-free, photo-safe, and non-toxic. It had no smell. So when I see this, I'll remember bits of all of that because I intentionally want to make sure I remember this product because in this case, I liked it. So I'll have positive energy around it, even if I don't remember exactly why. The positive feelings are going to be part of the image now. But had this been a terrible experience, that the next time I see this in a store, I am going to remember maybe not so much this directly, but an unpleasantness in association with it. And depending on how good that memory was planted, we'll see how much of that unpleasantness is remembered. Sometimes that's really not necessary, so the brain's going to discard that extra information. It's going to say, oh, glue stick worked, not so great. Done. That's your whole memory, and you can't even remember what color this is. Your brain actually reversed it and makes you think it was green instead of orange. So you can go to the store looking for green, and you will keep overlooking the orange until someone says, here, this is what you're looking for. And you'll go, no, it's, oh, yeah, it says that. I don't remember it being orange, because the memory does not work the way you think it does. So when you remember things, especially unpleasant things that make you sleepless, that you also have to remind yourself that you're not remembering it correctly and that you're remembering something. And every time you remember it, it has altered. And if you have negative feelings about what you remembered, that negativity will become magnified. Oh, there's that negative thing again, negative thing again, negative thing again. And you're rubber stamping it emotionally instead of really looking at it and going, oh, wait a second, actually, I don't actually remember it that well. Or, actually, I don't remember being this upset about it back then. So why am I not able to sleep right now? Why is it in my head? Well, just like everything, something triggers it. It just might not be something you can remember offhand, but you might know exactly what triggered it. Again, it all depends on that particular memory. Is it a good memory, a lousy memory? Do you want to keep remembering it if it comes up, or do you want to forget it? Yeah, kind of, Charlie, yes. In a way, yeah. A mental spreadsheet that would work. Because your memories will fail you. And if you expect them to be accurate after a while, you're only going to drive yourself crazy. So this is where we have to learn how to handle those kinds of things that come up. How real are they anymore? If you've been remembering the same thing for 20 years. With the scientific understanding now that you're not remembering it correctly, even if you think you are, then you have to start doubting your own memory, which gets scary for us because for some things, like remembering when we were right about something and everybody else was saying it was wrong, that becomes like a personal injury thing. It's not just memory. It's now associated with a negative feeling, like they didn't believe me and I was telling the truth. Those kinds of things are really harsh because humans need to be understood and they need to be heard. And if we tell the truth, we need it to be understood as a truth. And when it's not, we're confronted with a big conflict, emotional conflict. It's like, hey, That's me. I told you the truth and you're not believing me. Fuck you. But a lot of times you can't actually say fuck you, but you're stuck with this. And then when the situation's passed but still in your head, they accuse you of lying when you were telling the truth. And there was no reason or justification for them doing that. They just did it. They listened to somebody else instead of you, whatever the case might be. But it leaves you feeling unsatisfied emotionally. Learning how to let that kind of thing go takes practice. But part of it that helps is remembering that you don't remember correctly. And you could be torturing yourself just because that's what the brain does. And it's like hearing something said that really was not personal. And when the person said this, it wasn't really even pointed at you, but you took it like it was. And that can stay with you for years. And it might be years and years or never that you find out that it had nothing to do with you at all. And that you've been in the head reactive for years over nothing. Over like, oh my God, he wasn't even talking about me or to me. I overheard that thing. I assumed it was about me, and it turned out to be not even close to what I thought it was. And how embarrassed, because I just spent a whole lot of energy on that thought. Now I feel foolish. So yeah, question your memories. Even though it feels like, how can I be wrong? I can't be wrong. Yes, we all get wrong. We are all wrong about things. And your brain works a certain way. Accept it. Don't get pissed about it. Just say, oh, yeah, okay. That's why they do all those things about people who are professional witnesses. And you can take little online tests even to see how accurate you were in, what did you see in this scene? What did you see? What color was that? Was there anything else on the desk if you saw this scene? Like, I thought. Like, yes, that's the point. You thought. But it wasn't really in your head. Something suggested it, and your brain filled the rest in, which can be scary. But this is why we can't just jump to conclusions when we're presented with some information. We may actually have to take time to look deeper. Wait a second. I didn't catch the joke, you're right. And Doc, that's what we generally do. We have to find peace, right? We have to create peace. And the problem is we can make new scenarios, but after a while, and this is the problem, your subconscious is watching you make these new scenarios, and your subconscious accepts everything as real. It doesn't ask for proof at all, ever. It just accepts it. That's why our self-talk is so important. We have to catch when we're putting ourselves down. We have to catch when we're painting ourselves into a corner, and it's hard to do. But as you do it, the first time you do it, you go, oh shit, I just caught that. I was just thinking about this, and that's definitely not going to help me. That's actually a lie that I'm saying to myself. And the first time you catch that, you'll find yourself so empowered, like, whoa, now I know why it's so hard for people to change their behaviors or their thoughts. Because we have mental habits that first have to be caught in the action of doing this before we can make a change. And that's not easy. You'd think it would be easy, but it's not. The past cannot be changed. We know that. Logically, we know that. But as soon as we start thinking about something in the past, we can't help but make alterations. And because as psychologically, we need to see ourselves as winners and right. Now, this is just a human thing, all right? We don't know for sure, but I think animals will probably do it before we did it. I think it's just we need to be right. We need to be correct. So we correct things in our memories, even if it didn't happen that way. The thing is that our brain accepts that as true. So after a while, like I said, the more often you remember something, no matter how you remember it, Every time you bring it back, it's changed a little bit. So the reality is you have to make yourself a hero in your own mind. You have to come out on top in your own mind. This is a normal human behavior. All right, this is a fact. It's about our survival. It's about our belief in ourselves that we can keep going on in the face of crap. Because the world seldom, goes exactly as we want it to, right? Things happen all the time, and that's just the way life is. We have to adapt. We have to adjust. But our memories are memories, and they just get more and more faded over time. And again, remember, when you first made that memory was probably not very distinct unless it was marked by trauma. Trauma will imprint things more deeply, obviously. Something that catches you, horrifies you, frightens you, has to be significant, and that makes a stronger memory. But even that, as you remember it over time, your body needs to adjust to it, to adapt to it so that it's not harsh on you anymore. And it changes a little bit at a time. Every time you remember, a little bit changes, a little bit changes. It's no longer what it was 20 years before or 50 years before. You're remembering it as you remembered, and changed it and changed it and changed it. And I'm saying not intentionally. This is an automatic thing we do. It's a self-preservation thing. So a lot of it is not right there in your face. You don't realize how much you're changing. But we still, when we have disturbing memories, we manage to keep the idea that it was a traumatic experience, and that's what we're trying to fix. Ideally, for those kinds of things, I will take an example for myself. A memory of being embarrassed. Embarrassed by, let's see. Yeah, shock will make you remember things differently, but it imprints things, right? But the subconscious mind is our little slave. And when I call it a slave, it means that you can program it deliberately, or you can keep repeating programming. It has no will to, it has no ability to fight you on it. Your subconscious mind is just going to absorb whatever you tell it is true. This is why we end up becoming enslaved to beliefs that our parents gave us or our grandparents gave us. Beliefs about ourselves. I mean, all of this stuff affects us. So if you have a memory, like, okay, I'm going to imagine remembering that I asked a guy out on a date and he said no. And I was embarrassed because it took a lot out of me to work up to asking a guy in a time when it was not really considered cool for a girl to ask a guy out. And I remember how red my face got, okay? And I remember feeling really bad for guys because the guy is usually the one, or has been in the society, the one expected to put the hand out first. Hi, would you like a date? Where girls were taught, no, you wait until the guy flirts with you, and the guy has to ask you. You're not allowed to stand and just say, hey. But of course, now we're understanding that we need to be responsible for our relationships, male or female. We need to put ourselves out there. We need to not expect society to tell us what to do, other than being nice and kind. So as women, we need to be more assertive, and if we want somebody, if we find someone attractive, then we need to say that. And of course, assuming they're single and available, or at least finding out if they're single and available. But okay, so I have this memory that this really cute guy that I got the nerve up to ask out said no, and I was embarrassed. So right in my memory, I'm going to come back, and over time, because that embarrassment for me was so acute, every time I remembered it, I would blush, right? I'd be, oh my God, I can't believe I asked him out. And then he said, no, oh my God, I'm going to die. Okay, I was young. The more I think about it, I can make it worse or I can make it better. I can keep going back there and going, oh my God, he must have thought this. And then I can imagine how he saw me. I can take it from every angle, but I can make myself smaller and smaller and more embarrassed, so that it becomes a real traumatic incident. Like, oh my God, I'll never ask a guy out again. That becomes the feeling, even if you don't verbalize that. It's horrible. He turned me down. Well, really, I mean, realistically, big fucking deal, right? We ask people out all the time, and they don't always want to go out with us. We're not on the same wavelength. We're not the same attractive. There's not enough traction there. Lots of reasons to say no. So I could talk myself into hating myself, thinking less of myself. I could talk myself out of ever going forward and trying to flirt again without first being told by his signals that it's okay. Or I could reprogram myself and go, all right, yeah, that was embarrassing, but I can see myself being, all right, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. And if I would go back and like say, yeah, okay, he said no, but I'm all right. That's just it was him. I can ask somebody else out. Next time I see somebody I think is cute, I'll ask him. So those are two entirely opposite emotional responses to the same event. You can train your brain to accept the fact that it was a no-no or a turn down, or okay, I was embarrassed. My face was red. That really happened. But I don't have to keep amplifying it in my head. I can say, all right, let it go. The guy turned me down. Happens all the time. Big deal. We don't all like the same music. That's why so much exists in the world, because of variety, because of all the different ideas and opinions. So it's all how we look at ourselves. We can make that memory great, or we can make it shit. We can make it like a numbness. It's like, yeah, I remember. Oh yeah, okay. So it's up to you how you want to deal with that. So if you have a memory come up where you had this outrage, or you need to protect and defend yourself, you need to say something about yourself, and in reality, you can't. The time is gone. The person might be dead. The time has passed. It's over. That memory is just stuck in your head, and it serves no purpose other than it just gets you riled up. If it's not teaching you something, if you've got nothing, you can ask the memory. When you hit that memory again, you go, are you trying to teach me something? Is there something I need to know from this experience? And immediately you will get a feeling, you will have a knowledge, yes or no. If it's like, yeah, you haven't learned your lesson yet, then okay. All right, I accept that. What is it that I need to learn from that? I've been over this event a million times, and nothing about it has made me feel like I'm learning anything. I don't want to go through it again. So if you ask yourself, question it. It's just a memory. It's a little cell in your brain somewhere. It's not like it's a real event anymore. It's just an image, a series of images, a tiny movie that's imprinted on a cell in your brain. As a matter of fact, they can't even actually say that. That's the memory right there. It's something that's like electricity. It goes there, spark to spark. Look at that, a neural synapse. Just exchange a little lightning. That was your memory. That's your past that you're fighting with. There's a little bit of explosive electricity in your brain. When you think about what it really is and how much you allow yourself to be tortured by it, how much time you spend thinking about that past, what is it really? It doesn't exist. It's gone. It's only here, somewhere with firing nerve synapses. It's not even a physical fixed spot that you can point. This is that memory. It doesn't work that way. I hear you, Doc. So could I. But what good would that book do? Seriously. If there's not already a book about that kind of abuse, and there probably is, because people in the last 20 years has been really big on telling people about their problems, right? I'm sure you can find something that matches your experience, but the problem is not just telling your story. We all have a story. Big deal. I mean, it's a big deal to you because it's your life. But for others, it's not really that big a deal. The point is, what are you doing with your life? Are you torturing yourself, or are you living your life? If you're stuck, if you feel like you're not going anywhere, if you don't have the motivation, you're not discovering things, and I'm not talking to you, Charlie, because at your age, you're still learning about you. So it's just not the same as being someone closer to my age, where we have already lived 50 years on this planet or more, and we have a wealth of experience and also a wealth of memories that do not exist in your brain yet. So, and of course ours will never exist in your brain, but you don't have that reservoir of data that we are drawing from and having to deal with, because as that reservoir grows, our responses to all of those memories also start to vary, and some of them are not very constructive. They're actually very self-destructive. We get caught in those memories that don't exist in reality anymore. They're just gone. They're imprints on your brain, and it's you interacting with these imprints. So the next time you feel like you're stuck in one of those, catch it. Remind yourself what it is in physicality. What is it you're really arguing with? Is your mama still on this planet? She passed, didn't she? Because one thing I know for sure also when it comes to mommy dearest stories or daddy dearest stories, because I have both. I have 4 parents. I have a story for every one of them. But it doesn't matter what the stories are. What matters is how happy are you now? Do you want to be happy? If you want to be happy, then you have to start using techniques that are going to free you up from the stuff that really isn't counting anymore. The thing about mommy dearest and daddy dearest stories is that your siblings could have had the exact same life as you, and they still will never agree with you about a bunch of stuff that happened, because their memories are frozen in different times and in different ways. So yeah, you could have had the same parents and been through the same kind of hell, but what goes on in your head after that is between you and your head. And good luck in having siblings completely in agreement, because even if life was perfect, you'll never be. Siblings do not see eye to eye sometimes until they're adults. And then adults, you're going to still see what their perspective was. Like, I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and we've got so many years between each of us. So between each kid coming, I was still growing up and had all my memories. So you got a little baby here. What does that little baby know about the 7-year-old kid? 7-year-old has got 7 years of memories ahead of this little kid here. And it's going to be a few years before that kid has memories that they can remember. Yeah. So once they're gone, you cannot have a physical closure because they're gone. And I don't know what kind of closure you did have with your mother before she passed. Closure is important. Closure can be had by forgiveness. If you can forgive, say, look, I know, because of my own life and the way I've tried to live my life, I know you must have tried the best you could with the circumstances that you had, with the brain that you had, with the body you had, with the time that you were born. I am going to guess that you did the best you could, whatever that looked like. So I forgive you, because everybody fucks up. Everybody has struggles on this planet. No 2 people have the same brain. At some point, you have to let the pain go and let it be with them. Like, they did it. They're responsible for that. They caused this to happen, or they allowed this to happen, and you have to say, okay, that's what happened. But I don't have to suffer anymore because of that. You were you did you, and now, after all this time, I'm doing me. And I forgive you, I let you go. When I come over on the other side, we'll talk about it. In the meantime, I have things I want to do without you being part of the crazy making. Hey, look, it was how long before my father and I came to an understanding? 16 years after he died. Well, actually 14 years after he died. I finally forgave him. Time had to pass for me. I couldn't see it any other way. So time passed. I forgave him. I accepted that I loved him despite the crap parts of the relationship. There were also wonderful parts. So I take the wonderful parts, I take the lessons, and the parts that were crappy, why torture myself? I have let them go more and more and more. So Dad was a human being. My mother was a human being also. And not all parents are great parents or strong people or able to withstand their circumstances without collapsing into some kind of an addiction or cruelty. We respond in different ways because we're just staggering along on this planet, trying to figure out how to be human. But it isn't her that's important now, Maui. What's important is how you are going on, what you hold her responsible for, what she was responsible for, and where you're going to take that. Like, okay, damage done. Congratulations. We'll talk about it when I come home. In the meantime, I need to do this. I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I don't want crap in my life. So these are all conscious decisions, and these are the kinds of thoughts you have to stick in your head when those memories are triggered by something. They can't control you. You control them. Oh, there we go. When I got married the first time, I was working in an office with some lovely people. And I shared some of my story with the woman who stood by us to be a witness for the marriage. And she was a lovely young lady, and she was way more impressed with me than necessary. But she felt I should write a book about how we can get to our happy ending, because I had had such a torturous start, and here I was getting married and starting my life over and blah blah blah, and I was very happy and had a good job. And I said what I've been saying all these years: there's no need for me to write a book, because there are already a bunch of books to cover everything I've ever been through. My personal take really is not necessary to clog up the marketplace. And I still pretty much feel that way. It's like everything I've experienced, it's not like it's a new experience to have a bad mother or bad father or crazy family members or be abused. It's so common, unfortunately. It's almost like, yeah, this is how society has managed to raise their people, to raise their children. They suck. They need to be retaught. They need to learn more about human nature. Blah, blah, blah. But I'm not having children, so moot point for me. I don't have to worry how they're raised, personally. I hope for the sake of the world that people are going to be doing better jobs, and it seems like they are. You start hearing statistics so many people are doing this, so many people did that. Da, 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 da. It's like, are there any healthy human beings anymore? I mean, if there are so many people like this and so many people like that, and these cross here, but they're different, that it's like, who's healthy? Who's normal? I mean, who do you point to as, here's an example of how I want to be? And it turns out that all those hero stuff, we have to find personal examples, people we can respect and look up to. That's where heroes are good to have. Mentors, even if they're not personally mentoring us, they can mentor us by having their talks and inspiring us to different kinds of thinking. So growth happens with that as well. This is coming along, but I have a feeling I need to wash some things off. We're getting there. Now I'm gonna cut in all the bricks. Now, you know, my mom passed a year ago, and she was 89 years old. And unfortunately, her last few years suffered from dementia to the degree that we could not have a normal conversation. In fact, for the last 2 years, because of the pandemic and everything, I didn't talk to her at all. And I knew she was dying, and there was nothing I could do about it. And now I had learned something about her and our childhood that I definitely was not expecting to hear and didn't want to know. But you can't unknow things that are traumatic. So I didn't really want to talk to my mother. And I felt really deprived because we had come to a loving peace where she loved me and I loved her back, but part of me always had a little bit of the guard up. But I did love her, and I accepted her for basically the simple person she was. And then I found out something bad, and then I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I've been operating under an illusion for 30 years. Oh my God. So it was a lot of trauma right there. But I had to make peace too, because I knew she was dying. And I knew there was no having a conversation with her about the past because she couldn't remember me, much less the past. And that's what happens with dementia. You lose people before you lose them altogether. And it's really hard. Thank you. It is coming along cute. But man, when I finally said the words in my own head, I said, Mom, I'm sorry that, this came up at the end and I couldn't feel that love for you that I went down there with to help you. But at the same time, I understand you were human. I get it. I love you. But I couldn't say it to her in person, so I had to say it to her spirit. And when she died, I was still feeling kind of weird about the whole thing. It's like she died without me knowing I know. And it was a really weird thing emotionally. I had to go through another grieving. But I did come to that conclusion at last that it doesn't do either one of us any good spiritually. And what's past in this life is already past. It's not like we can go back 30 years and start over, or 50 years and start over. I mean, this is what it is, right? So I let it go. And I spoke to my mom and said, look, when I get home, we'll talk about this, but all is forgiven. Enjoy the parties. So we can't take care of everything, but there will be time to take care of everything eventually. In the meantime, you're here, be here now. Think of it like if you like something, you really want to take it with you, right? It's like liking a certain food. If you spend some time really getting into that flavor, that all of the nuances of that food, you are basically creating something, an energy item that you can easily, on the other side, call into your experience. It's hard to explain exactly how that is because we don't have bodies, but we can experience things that we have here. If it's real enough here, we bring it with us. We take that energy, that memory, and we can enjoy it again. That's why we say be here now. Pay attention to this life. Pay attention to joy. Look for joy. Create joy. The more you can do that, the better. I'm going to have to go soon and just take care of some of these notes that are being passed in the family. I don't want my sister going through a whole bunch of mental gymnastics to figure out how she can include me when I don't want her stressing and straining just to get me to this party. We'll just work out something else, right? That's not fair to do to people. Yeah, joy. Look, right now it's hard to imagine feeling joy if you're focused on the sucky parts of life. But joy is what we are here to create in our own lives. And if we're not feeling joy, we're doing it wrong. That doesn't mean you're supposed to be joyful all the time. Unless you are a monk and you are separated from society and all you're doing is making your Benedictine brandy, or you are gardening your organic herbs, or you are raising your organic cattle, or you're making your organic cheese. You get the idea. Unless you're living in a monastery devoted to that kind of life, your life ain't going to be simple. You're a human being. You are in society, whether you want to be or not, because you rely on society. You're not growing all your own food. Just for that alone, you need to be able to depend on society somehow, providing food and making it available to you, right? Talking about food makes me hungry. And I am going to have to get something to eat. So joy is not achievable on a constant daily basis all day long, because you're going to be distracted from your joy even when you feel that. I feel joy every day almost. It's not necessarily an all-day thing. I have my moments of joy. I dance around. And sometimes I feel joy even when I have too much pain to move around like that, but I still have joy. Because the ability to experience joy, just like the ability to experience anger or hatred, is in your brain. It's not in your body. Your body distracts you from these things, but emotionally speaking, it's not in your body. It's not even up here, except, like I said, your thoughts are not real things. Our thoughts are not who we are. Our thoughts are much more random than we think. We have to deliberately think. We have to decide we're going to look at this and read that and watch this and think about that. These are conscious choices that we make. We just walk around. We're just like random energy moving around in our bodies, and our thoughts are just this, word soup, until you direct your brain into doing something, and then you start to get more cohesive thoughts about something. But they're still just thoughts. They're still ephemeral. You cannot open your brain and find a thought. No matter how fiercely you've been holding on to something, you cannot find it in your brain by taking apart your brain. So everybody can look at their brains, but they're just going to look kind of like our bowels. Kind of funny, huh? Because our bowels has its own brain. But joy is a feeling which can be achieved not only by animals, I mean humans, but by animals. Animals can achieve joy. We can watch them and we go, oh, look at they're playing. They seem so happy. Yeah, because they're freaking happy. You know, they can have happiness. Just because we can't feel through or see through their brain doesn't mean that they are so inferior that they can't experience joy. Joy is not just a motivation, you know, to do things. I know if I do that, I'm going to feel great. I'm going to be really happy if I do this. But I keep feeling like I've got a hair that is trying to not get off my face. I can feel joy by listening to the right music and tapping into that music. If you are busy focusing on things that make you joyful, you're not busy focusing on the things that bring your energy down. And just because of the law of attraction, like attracts like, that's the simplest it can be said. That which is like itself, that which is like unto itself is drawn. It's, oh, you're always attracting what you're feeling, which is why I say don't keep saying meh. Find another way to express yourself. You are attracting more of that vibration. If that's not what you are enjoying, then stop manifesting it over and over again. It's just the brain firing off synapses. It's not a real thing that makes you feel like, it's you. And you are young, you, Charlie, so you're still learning how to get stuff in your brain. It's going to take a while for you to figure out how to handle the stuff in your brain. That's another story. Like, that's what we're talking about, though. You can't control things that just pop in your head. That's what the brain does. It just keeps throwing things out there over and over. Over 50,000 random thoughts a day. And most of them are completely meaningless and useless to you. It's just the brain talking to itself. Yeah, well, again, like attracts like. Whatever you are vibrating at is what you are attracting in that moment. But because you have a brain that you can tell what to do, you can change the nature of your thought. You can redirect your thoughts. You can substitute a thought, this good feeling thought, in exchange for this crap feeling. And as long as you're focused on this, you cannot feel or think about this. That's what it is. One thought at a time. That's all you can focus on. Yes, some of us are working on multiple levels and we're aware of that. But that's not the same as focusing on specifically on a thought. So look for the joy. Look for what makes you smile. Look for what makes you laugh. These are the things that will buoy your spirit. These are the things that will make you want to be here on the planet. And if you cannot get yourself to feel joy, even for a moment, then that is a problem. That's what you need therapy for, or maybe medicine for. No matter how downbeaten you have been, that doesn't mean joy is impossible. People feel joy, but they won't if all they're thinking about is the crap of life. Bottom line. Keep going back to the past that you can't change. Nothing is alive in the past. So while you are wrapped in the past, you're not alive either. You're in hold. You're in stasis. You're not alive when you're living in the past because the past is dead. We're not supposed to live there. So anything you get from the past is going to just be a brief experience or re-experience or a concocted experience. And after a while, you will not be able to tell the difference whether something really happened the way you remember or not. It becomes more and more distorted over time. So every time you go back there, you're in the dead zone. You are in, like, okay, I wrote a book and there it is. That's the past. Dead book over there. Tomorrow isn't here yet. That's all imagination. But we can plant seeds for tomorrow, energetically speaking. But we can't live in yesterday. Every attempt to do that is a waste of energy. It just frustrates you because you can't actually change anything. And if you cannot actually change the past, it cannot affect the future or the now because it doesn't exist. It's not real. So focus on now. Be here now. Do your best to do that. And you have such a wealth of knowledge of music, Maui. You have so much music, you could actually be a DJ if you wanted to. But the importance of music is in how you connect with it emotionally. And with all of that music, there's no way in hell you can tell me it all sucks. And there's no way you can tell me it all brings you down, because music isn't to bring you down. Music is meant to lift you, to affect you emotionally. So you can connect with joy by choosing more joyful music. And you can alter your vibration by tapping into that musical energy. No one is left completely adrift without the ability to affect their own energy. It's just sometimes you have to work a little harder to figure out what's your secret key, what's going to work best for you. Color, sound, touch, flavor. What can you absorb through any of your senses that brings you joy? And work on that. Yeah, you got enough music for it, don't you? Of course, you have to have a license, I guess, to play all that music. But I mean, I'm sure the world of DJs, you can learn plenty about how to do that if you wanted to. I know they need equipment if they're going to do parties and clubs and stuff. But you can be your own DJ and be your own best friend and use your music to change how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally. I use music that way all the time, and that is how I get to those joyous feelings. Music for me is the fastest connect. So I have songs that I start moving my body to, and even if I can't move fast at first, once you start moving your body, that's another way to create joy. It's like, think of yourself as a battery. Or not a battery, but think of yourself as a car engine, right? Your alternator, your transmission, all of it's connected. But if you don't have that battery going, if you don't have things charging, but even, matter of fact, how do you charge a battery? You're using the battery while you're driving, but it's also charging at the same time, so it's keeping the battery up. And that's how our physical bodies are. The more you use your body, the more you're charging your battery, not wearing it down. Well, a little bit, okay? Like, yeah, we know, osteoarthritis. The use of your bones and joints will create arthritis over time. On the other hand, if you continue, it'll keep your arthritis at bay. As it's making things crappy, it's also wearing it down. So we have to basically be our little machines. We have to move our bodies. The more we move our bodies, the more energy we generate. Better for our hearts, definitely better for our brains. They found that depression can be held at bay through exercise. So daily exercise is what helps us with depression. Ta-da! Also, the biggest thing about depression, never say yes when you're feeling no. Biggest, fastest way to be depressed is to say, oh, sure, I can do that. When inside you're going, no, I don't want to do that. I hate that. Yeah, look at that. So other people have also recognized your ability to manipulate the atmosphere with music. You get it. You have the facts. You just have to do the practice. You just have to use it on yourself. You could do it for a class. You can do it for yourself. Don't you put on playlists if you're going to do an art lesson yourself? If you're going to learn something, you want to sit down and do something or work with your photographs, don't you put music on? You got a playlist for everything, right? Playlists are one of the best ways to manipulate your energy, manipulate your moods. We've known that forever. We've talked about it before. Like, I wrote my books with music, specific playlists for different scenes. You know, like adventure scenes, you got some more fast, upbeat music. When you want to be like, oh, this is a serious thing, you quiet down the music, slow down the rhythm, get more dramatic. So dramatic music, dramatic scenes. Happy music means, you know what it means. So practice it. You know it. You've got the knowledge. But we get lazy and we stop taking care of ourselves. And yes, self-care includes the mental self-care. Big time. You can't allow yourself to sink. The world does not take care of us in every aspect. But it does, you know, God takes care of those who take care of themselves. God helps those who help themselves. The universe will always have your back. Like I said, the universe never says no. But you don't always realize what you're asking. When you're sitting in your negativity, you're asking for crap. That's what the universe is hearing. That's what's feeling. Oh, you're feeling crappy? Here's more crappy. It's like a blind mirror. It's not judging you. It's not saying yes or no or, oh, you won't like that. You're asking for it. You're asking through your vibration. If that's what you're feeling, the universe just says, okay, here you go. More of that, more of that, more of that. That's why it's so important to pay attention to what that is. So I have to pay attention to my stomach, which is saying, I've talked enough about food. We've had enough food for thought, I think. We have drilled this into your head. Yeah. So I'm going to go, I'm going to eat, and depending on the light, my attitude and all that, I might be back. I might have to wait till tomorrow afternoon after 3. I have a doctor appointment to get my vaccination tomorrow and an appointment before that. So with everything going on tomorrow, I can't guarantee what time I'll be here. But my taxi's supposed to get me back home by 3:30. And if they're on time, I will be here at 3:30. So let's keep our fingers crossed that the taxi's on time. If not, I will see you soon. So aloha for now. Mwah. Charlie, go to bed. Oh no, it's too early. Don't go to bed. Just study. Thanks for hanging out with me, everybody. Oinkness, feel good, and I will keep the candle lit while you are away. Let's hope that that canvas, that cover, stays exactly where it needs to. We'll calm the winds. Calm the winds. Calm the winds. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow, but if not, I will definitely